Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Let me know if everything's coming through. How's sound and everything? Am I coming through? Everybody hearing me loud and clear, so to speak? Maybe too loud, too clear? Five by five. All right, cool. Thank you, thank you. Yes, loud and clear. All right, I will adjust the mic again. The mic's being goofy. Every now and then it just suddenly... I hope everybody is well today. I'm a little rushed. Joyce and I took a road trip today, which is going to be kind of the theme of the show today. And I'll be posting a video about our road trip either tomorrow or Monday. I don't have any control on the sound cutting out. That's all I can say. I hope everybody's doing well. Hello, Steve and Chris, Andy, Chase Railway Lines, Randall Ellison, Attila Varga is here. Dirk from Southern Cross Rail System is here. We have Ray Bertelson, Steve, 87th PSAP. I saw RJack was what I saw. Is whom I saw. You are not knighted, so I will wait and see how things go. And then, well, it's not knighting because this is not Knights of the Rhomboid Table, even though the logo's there. That's Friday Club. Anyhow, yeah, Joyce and I decided we just wanted to hit the highway. And with all the remodeling I have done on my layout, I was a couple of short pieces short of really getting it perfect. So I just said, hey, if you wanted to get out of town for part of a day, we could go up to the one train shop that's close enough to drive to. It still takes 2 hours or so to get there for us. That sells Märklin track, which is what I use. So Joyce and I went to it, and let me give you a little bit here. I've got to do the present, share screen, window, and there we go. The shop is called Ormondy's. Okay. Ormondy's has been in business for 46 years. It is in a town called Medina, Ohio, or actually it's spelled Medina like the Italian city, but it's pronounced Medina. It's Medina, Ohio, Medina. Hey, Mark from Zantec, how are you? Oh, well, that's cool, R. Jack James. I appreciate that. I'm probably not the channel to learn from, but the key is my channel is just about having fun. It's very rare that I post work videos. It's just happened. All these people joining in the last couple of weeks because all these videos, because I actually did some work on my layout, but usually I don't do anything on my layout. I just run trains. But yeah, Hornby's is totally old school shop. And I'll talk about this and we can use it as a talking point in the chat today. But yeah, Joyce and I went to Hornby's, but they do American and European, but they are the biggest Märklin dealer within 5 hours of Toledo. They have more Märklin stock than anybody. A lot of new stock, not all the new stuff. The gentleman that runs it, Mr. Hornby, he has been running this shop since, well, like I said, 46 years. He is from Hungary. And he started it as a Märklin store and then expanded in. And so they've got all scales. They've got O scale. They've got G scale, 1 scale. They've got HO, N scale, NZ scale. They've got American and European, mostly Märklin, and Tricks in DC. They've got a little bit of Piko and Roco, a couple of rare items from Fleischmann. Now, but this is a problem we're going to get to, Mark, is that their online presence is very weak. Now, there was fear they were going to close. In fact, 2 years ago, the rumor started they were closing or 3 years ago, because the owner of the building they were in was kicking them out. And then they worked out a deal with the owner to stay. Well, finally, the owner said, nah, I want you to go. And they moved around the corner because they originally not only had a model train shop, but they had a toy museum. And the toy museum is now gone. But they sell scenery for N scale and HO scale and O scale. They have a bunch of stuff. But I go to Hornby's about once a year, sometimes twice a year. But it's been a year and a half since I've been there because they were closed while they moved. And Joyce and I normally do a Christmas run. We always go to Hornby's a few weeks before Christmas, and we didn't do that this year. But they've moved to their new location, which is really only a 2-minute walk, 3-minute walk from their old location. But yeah, and so you'll have to excuse, these are vid cap photos. These are not photographs. These are just things I ripped off the video I took. So they're not going to be clear. It is Joyce. That's why it looks just like Joyce. But, you know, I'm just giving you a little bit of a view around the shop. But he was a Märklin specialist, but he's talking about he's trying to scale back his Märklin because Märklin doesn't sell anymore. Now, he is 84. His wife is 82. And they've got a gentleman that really runs the store, but they were all there today. Now, they did not want to be interviewed on camera, but they said I was allowed to video because they were hoping I would advertise their channel. But this is the problem. But I'll show you some of the pictures that I've peeled off. Just they have everything for the model train world in all major scales. I mean, no S scale, they even have Z scale. They have Z scale, but they don't have S and so forth. But yeah, they were my Märklin go-to store if I didn't order online. But yeah, they just have they have one aisle that is just all Märklin or Märklin related, and then at the end of this aisle to the left, they have a trick section and then a Märklin Z section. But what's really cool is they actually have a lot of new stuff. Like they have the Ontario Northlander there, and he had it at a fairly good price, and they were willing to make a deal. They were going to chop a couple $100 off for it if I bought it. They were going to go from $1,150 down to $900, and I was like, no, I can't spend that much money. But they're a really nice shop. The problem is they don't sell online. And the gentleman my age, or maybe 5 years older than me, that kind of runs the shop, I don't think he's a son. I don't think he's their son. But he has been trying to get them to start selling things online because old man Ormandy was saying the Miraklin stuff just isn't selling anymore. There aren't as many people buying Miraklin. And I disagreed. I said, no, there's more Americans buying Miraklin, but they're buying online. Everybody shops online. You're in an area, you're running a Miraklin store in an area that is old American rail world. So you're not going to get a lot of walk-in business for Miraklin. But if you would put a lot of this stuff online at some of the prices you're advertising, you would sell a lot of it. Because he has, like right now, he has all his old Miraklin stock. Anything that's not 2024, 2023, 2024, 2025, anything that's before 2023, he has it on sale for 30% off. And some of it's great prices, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. So I'm sorry if I'm ignoring the chat. I'm just going through. But yeah, and so it's a great store. And like I said, I've got a video that will highlight this better. But like I said, you know, I look at the European stock, but they have American stock as well. And we spent a lot of time talking. And then I did some shopping. And then Joyce bought me something to support the store. I was talking about, I've always wanted to get this one, but you know, it's a great shop. They had Kato HO Unitrack, and I had not seen that in a shop. And they had the Kato HO as well as the N scale stuff. It was amazing. And so, and they have a little bit of other toys as well. They do have stuffed animals and that from their toy museum that they will sell. But they've got a basement. They've got this basement area of this is filled with all the museum stuff and the really old collectible Miraklin stuff. And that's the only thing you'll find online, but it's a price list. But the old man doesn't want to get into shipping. That's his problem. He doesn't want to have to pack and ship it, so he won't put a presence online. And the younger guy that helps run the store for him says, I keep arguing with Ray. He's got to do this. He's got to do this. He's got to get online to sell this. And in some cases, drop his prices a bit. And so, yeah, there's Joyce again. These are one scale trains. Were these one scale? Yeah, I think these were one scale. They had a big boy for $2,900. And they even have assembled models. They get people to build models. So they have a selection of already assembled models. Again, prices in those cases, well, you know, are about the price of the model unassembled. So I guess, you know, it's worth it. Yeah, Mark. It's. I mean, he does enough business with his American stock, but he's talking about the frustration with the Miraklin. But Miraklin in the United States, you've got to have an online presence. To be honest, if he weren't so far away, if he were an hour away, I'd go in and spend. I'd go out there, especially once Cayenne starts going full time to school. I'd drive out there and spend 5 hours a day boxing stuff for him if he wanted to do an online presence. But he's just too far away. I couldn't do that. And I'm not going to sell my house and move to Medina to help him out. Especially don't want to live in that part of Ohio for political reasons. But yeah, just great assortment. Like he's got obviously Lionel Fast Track here and that, but he's got some Fleischmann Profi Track. He's got a lot of great stuff. So he has both European and American. It's a great shop. And I'm going to, that's the last of my pictures. I just wanted to give a view. Like I said, it'll probably be a 20-minute video that I will post of our tour. But the thing is, this is why these shops are important though. And so let me show and tell time. Now, this is the positive and the danger. Trains are a danger of a, you know. I went there to buy these. I needed some 71 millimeter pieces and 77 millimeter pieces for the Miraklin track system. There's a couple areas here where I had to kind of fudge it, but because I ran out of 71s and 77s, so now I can straighten things and get it exactly the way I want it. Okay, so I mean, everything ran smoothly after that one slip seemed to just pop itself open for the rest of the live stream yesterday. So we just had that one weird thing where that switch just opened on its own. But then the last 2 hours and 40 minutes of the live stream, the trains ran beautifully. But yeah, I went there to buy this. Now their track, they, you know, like for example, you can see here, $5.49 a piece, and the box is 10 pieces. $5.49 a piece. I can get this from Miraklin for $3.50, or I'm sorry, not from Miraklin, from Lipa for the equivalent of about $3.50. That's $2 cheaper. He needs to bring these prices down a bit, because I can get and I can get this usually online. Now, the reason I did go there is online was sold out of this track. There was none on eBay. There was no. I could have ordered it from Renaud's, but I really wanted it now rather than a week from now, so I didn't buy it from Renaud's. Hey, Rick's Trains, how are you? No, Artie, sadly, bad news. Joyce likes Australia, but she doesn't want to live there. You know, so some of his things, his prices are a bit high. But again, the coolness or the danger of going to a shop is this is all I went for. This is all I went for. And still, this was about $100 in track for 2 little boxes of shorties. Okay. I would normally pay about $75 to $80 for this combined on eBay or from Lipa. Okay. But when you can walk into a shop and see things, there is something I have been looking for and have not been able to find in any of my German sources. But this is, and it was something that was on my shopping list for going to Germany in June. It was all the train shops I was going to go into. I was going to look for these. But this is the thing. All the online shops have sold out of this. But he had this. This is another addition to my Miraklin train. You know, I got the new Loco and all the Miraklin logo cars here. This is a 40-foot container with a 20-foot container flatbed. These are sold out everywhere with the online shops in Germany. I have searched and searched and searched. I have looked for them on eBay. Nobody's had them on eBay, not even Trains from Buford, Georgia. I walk into Hornby's. He's got 1. He's got 2. They were original price, $76.99. That is list price. That is a totally fair price. He took 30% off of them. That was an amazing price. I was only going to get 1, but it was said I'll get, 30% off both of them. Bam. Hell yeah. Joyce is like, get the other one. You've been looking for them. Get the other one. Just get them both. You have not found them anywhere. The time to buy something is when you see it. So I got 2 of these. So yeah, that's the advantage. Is when you walk in, they might have something in stock you can't find anywhere. And he's got a massive collection of old Miraklin stock. Trust me, if I had $10,000, $20,000, I would have loaded my truck. He had so many things there I wanted. Some of them at awesome prices, some of them at way too much. And the weird thing is, his prices on his newer stock is very good. His prices on the old stock, he's got stuff for $600, $700 and then take 30% off. So let's say something for $500, take 30% off. That's $150 off. So $350. But even at $350, I can buy it on eBay for $175. His old stock, he really needs to come down on price. But he's got stuff that I know friends of mine are looking for. And if he was selling it online, it would sell. He had crap that I was looking at going, oh, wow, I got that in Herb's collection, but it would have been cool here. I got this. He's got an amazing selection of old Miracle stuff and new Miracle stuff. It's a great store. But he needs to do some thinking about his pricing, and he needs to listen to the people that are telling him about these things. But yeah, he's 84. He doesn't want to do boxing. I understand that. But, you know, hire a couple of kids or get the old guy. Dave is the younger guy, and I say younger compared to 84. Dave's my age, if not a little bit older. So I got 2 of these. Now, he had several locos where Joyce knew I was probably going to buy something. But when I saw these, this became priority 1 because I have been after these for months. So to get 2 of them and to get them for less than $50 each, yeah, they're coming home with me. But Joyce figured I was going to buy something, a set of cars, and he had all these glorious things. He's got the entire set of the Kaiser Wilhelm II Royal Train, which is a very big. He's got the old original Miracle Orient Express and the newer one that came out a couple of years ago. And again, I'll give it to you for, it's $1,300, but I'll give it to you for $950. And it's like, if this were a different time, if this were 6 months ago instead of now, I probably would have taken him on that. So, hey, PK, how are you? But he had a whole bunch of locos. He had and again, a lot of you guys probably would not care because this is really Miracle information. But he had the French 141 that Miracle released last year that is sold out everywhere. And he had it for $809, which is a little high, but 30% off. So it would have been $600 whatever dollars, about 560, 500. I think he was quoting me. He would let it go for $560, which would make it a hell of a deal because it was about $700 from Lipa. It was or $600, about $660 from Lipa. So when he marks it down with the 30% off, it's actually cheaper than I would have gotten from Lipa. It's a beautiful steam locomotive, a 141. But I got a 241 from Herb when I bought Herb's collection. So I'm looking at all these locos, and I stumbled across one, and I go, oh, wow, he's got one. These have been sold out, and I haven't seen them anywhere. Even in Germany in 2023, I could not find these in any shops. And he has it. It says, open the price. Okay. I opened the price. He says, we'll take 30% off of that. And then he took another $20 off of that 30%. So what I got was, it's not going to be easy to show right away. I got a class 147.5. I've got the class 146 in this livery, the IC livery. But I always wanted to get the 147. But when they released this, I had other locos I wanted more. And this went to the maybe someday. And then it went to the I'll never see it. He had it sitting on the shelf. And he had it for $269. He had it for $269. I paid $188. I paid $188 for this. This was $349 when it came out. And I paid $188. So let me take it out of the shell here. Yeah, I mean, the prices for Miracle are high, especially like if you're from the UK, where you're upset that something digital costs 180 pounds or about $200. Miracle, they start at $200 digital and go much higher. Can we open this carefully? But I am excited to have this. And the thing is, I talked myself out of it, like, no, I can't. And he's like, oh, yeah, we can mark that down for you. And I'm like, no, I've got the 2 cars and I got the track, which was a little more expensive than I wanted. And I'm just happy with the 2 cars. And he says, no, 30% off, anything in here, anything here. Only the new stuff is not 30% off. And Joyce just said, he'll take it. What? Wait. What did you say, Joyce? She said, get it. I'll turn around and you get it. So I won't see you getting it. Joyce bought it. I was putting it back, saying, nah, I can't really buy a Loco. I've just spent some money on train and track and getting these 2 cars. And Joyce is like, buy it. I'm like, what? Why, honey? I've already said I'd put it back. And she's like, we got to support these shops. So I bought a Loco. So let me take this bad boy out. And like I said, I wanted this Loco when it came out like 3-4 years ago, and I never bought it. It's a 147, which is the upgrade from the 146s. And again, most of you don't know the German nomenclature, but there you go. This is a 147. And the way you tell the difference, this is a Siemens Trax 2. And the way you tell the difference is it's got the corrugated siding on it, where the 146s are smooth surface here. So, great detail. I'm so excited to have this. I can't tell you how cool it is. It means I could give my other one a rest at times. And the 146 I do run with my IC. I'm just ecstatic with this. First of all, I just, thanks Joyce, because I was ready to just set it down. And trust me, there were so many other Locos there I wanted. And I know, again, you guys are all the, American or UK stuff. So when I talk about Miraklin and so forth, but this is Miraklin quality. This thing is, this is a tank. These things will run, they will last, and they're nicely detailed, full digital, 24, 28 sound functions. And for $188, amazing to get that, almost half price. But that goes to what I've been talking about is, number one, yeah, PKW, you've got to buy when it's there. The time to buy is when you see it. Joyce even knows that. Unfortunately, sometimes you see it when you can't afford to buy it. That's the worst part, is you see it and you can't buy it. He had things there I wanted to buy. I haven't seen them. He had train sets I had not seen by Miraklin, and trust me, I wanted them. He had ones that I knew, but I'd never seen them in shops that I would love, but I couldn't swing the money for them. I mean, he had a couple of train sets. Like he had the Miraklin Metropolitan. This is brand new. It was announced last year, was released towards Christmas time of 2024. So 3 months ago. It's a $1,300 set, and they were going to give it to me for $900. So they're going to take what Miraklin asked for. It was going to be $400 less. That's a hell of a deal. I wish I had the 900 to drop on it. The Metropolitan is a very famous train in Germany. It ran in the 80s and 90s. It was a super high-speed express train. It was kind of a luxury train. And Piko and Miraklin both released it. And so rather than Miraklin releasing it through Tricks, Miraklin released the 3-rail AC version, and Piko released the 2-rail version, rather than Miraklin releasing a 2-rail version through their sister company Tricks. But wow, yeah, talk about temptation. It's a gorgeous train. And it sold out within hours of it being made public. And you walk into this little train shop and bam, there it is. You can't buy it on any online store. You can find some on eBay where they've already jacked the price up 10, 20, 30%. But there you walk in, and not only is it less than official retail, they're willing to knock off more money. That's the beauty of these shops. But the problem is for this gentleman is he's old school, and you've got to get with the times. He's got all this gorgeous old American, so people who like the old tin plates, the old style pre-1987 changeover, pre-2006 reorganization. He's got that. He's got M-Track there. And again, most of you probably don't know what that is, but to the American people, they'd be like, really? Yeah, he's got some. He's got old sets, new sets. Most of them never opened of the old stock. But, you know, you've got to, if you want to sell it, you've got to get it online. They've got, and by the way, if you go to their webpage and you find that little click that says like they're online, that is a special sale they're doing. That's part of their basement, their old museum collection. That's not what was even up in the shelves. They had a couple of them that were on there, but most of that is in their hideaway. But again, you can't even go online and buy it. They're just saying this is hidden stuff we have in the store that we have really marked down. Those are mostly great prices. But if you don't live within driving distance of Medina, Ohio, you aren't going to get it, because he's not going to box it up and send it to you. And hey, Raymond, because see, Raymond, nice to see you. And again, I'm babbling and I'm ignoring most of the chat. I apologize for that. I just got all this on my head, and I haven't even had a chance to decompress. We got home about 5:30, and my daughter said, "Dad, can you watch Cayenne for a couple hours? Because we got to go do this." They were buying a freezer, just a freezer for all of her goods and baking and meats and everything, because she is big into that too. And then they went there and realized the freezer was too big to fit into their SUV. So they asked me if they could come and get my SUV. And I said, actually be faster if I came and dropped off my SUV where you're at Menards, and then you guys just dropped it off at your house and came back and picked up Cayenne and then went home from there. So I ran there, and I got home about, 15 minutes before I went live, and was scrambling to get these pictures on the computer and everything. So I'm a little disoriented, and so I'm just, so yeah, it was amazing. But Raymond Legs, you would have loved this shop. You and maybe even Efo and all my Maryland guys, you would have loved the shop. It had Maryland and tricks up the wazoo. They had some Fleischmann, but it was old Fleischmann, new in the box from 40 years ago. Stuff he just has had in his store all these years and just never sold. And so, yeah, it was amazing. And the nice thing is the new space they moved into really allowed them to spread their stuff out a little bit more. Their old shop was 2 floors and everything was crammed and packed. They've reorganized. They've got much better store organization. They really did. Whoever helped them out really got things in a nice order at their new location. It's missing the museum they had, but it's much better organized now. It was a little bit of a hodgepodge going in there. Oh, there's some Miracle here and some Miracle over there. And oh, there's some stuff upstairs. Now everything is organized. So the store is awesome. But how, and they were grateful for me. And when I asked if I could film, they said, yes, please advertise this. Get people to come here. I said, well, the problem is I'm talking to people around the world. And again, you like Lionel? They have it. They have Atlas and Athearn stuff. I didn't spend a lot of time staring at their American stuff because I was staring at all the Maryland stuff. Because originally they started as a European train shop with some American, and now their walk-in business is the American stuff. So that's where they focus. But they still stock Maryland, and they do get certain Maryland things. Like I said, they had the Northern Ontario, whatever, the Northlander. They had the Ontario, whatever, Northlander, gorgeous. And again, they were willing to knock off a crap load of money on it to sell it. And by golly, if they would sell it for that price online, it would be sold within a couple of hours of going online. I would have loved to walk around that shop with some of my fellow Maryland people. Your quest for 39771, I can't promise, but yes, it's a great shop, but it's great to walk around. They have so much Maryland, but again, they don't have it separated by year. It's just new stock in this case, old stock in these 4 cases, old stock 30% off. And you can haggle and negotiate. And again, then they have the basement collection, which you say what you're looking for, and they'll say, I'll see if we have it. But, they don't have all their locos. They do not have all their locos organized. Like, here's 3,800 locos. Here's 39000 locos. They don't have it organized. It is just put in there. They don't even have like all the locos here and all the cars. They have some locos here and then a bunch of cars. Some locos here and a bunch of cars. So you have to have a bit of an eye. It's better organized, but it's not perfectly organized. If I were running that shop, I would have been in there putting, first thing, get all your locos in order based on their model number. That way people can come right in. Oh, you've got it. Yes. Now, obviously, because stock is different sizes, yes, you can have special collector sets here and try to do it. And yeah, get an inventory. Get an inventory that says, here's what we have on display and here's what's in the basement. But it would take work. And again, they're in their 80s, and the one guy that helps them run the store. And there's another guy that comes in and helps as well, a retired mechanical engineer. And yeah, it's just beautiful. That's right. Bondsville, I haven't been home, so I saw you posted another video. Hopefully I'll get to it today. If not, I'll have to get to it tomorrow. So anyhow, that was what I wanted to share with you. Again, I will be posting a video on this. And I do want to, I always say it, and then we get going for 2 hours, but I would like to keep it relatively short tonight. But I will post a link here, and if people want to come up and, maybe keep this topic on the good and the bad of the mom and pop shops. We know how important they are. We know how important the mom and pop shops are to this hobby. Even more than the big box stores, we know how important they are, because sometimes you want to walk in and buy it. But the world has changed, and it is an online world. And if you have stock and you're like, well, because he's like, Maryland's dying. I was like, no, Maryland is having bigger sales than ever worldwide. But people are buying from online shops. Hey, Mystic, good to see you. So let's bring up my good friend, wonderful person that he is. Randall, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. How about you guys?
I have had a wonderful day. I mean, it's been a little stressful the last couple hours trying to help my daughter and son-in-law, and I was tired after the long road trip. I'm getting old, so a 2.5 hour car ride there, and then a 2.5 hour car ride back, as well as the couple hours we spent in the store. And yeah, Joyce probably should have driven home, because I'm just like, oh my God, this trail. Oh my God. Yeah, that trail. Oh my God. I can't believe you let me buy that locomotive. I can't believe you let me buy that locomotive. Why did you let me buy that locomotive? We need to support the shops, honey. We need to support the shop. And I'm like, damn, if I know you're going to be that generous, there was 3 other things I would have walked out with. She's like, just take the one I let you have.
No, you was talking about the local mom and pop shops. The hobby shops that used to be around here in my area is gone, all except for one. That's McPherson Muffler and Hobby out there. And they're a very small hobby shop. And I've probably told this story. People probably heard it, but they're not technically how the hobby shop isn't technically housed in its own building. It's actually inside of a muffler shop.
Yeah. And you know what? Restaurant and model train shop. Morgue and model train shop.
Yeah, you can go and get your oil changed and look at the trains and model cars they got inside. So,
yeah, just, you know, if you have to multitask to keep the model train shop going,
yeah,
and you can multitask, then yeah, why not?
Well, I mean, it's been that way for, well, I'm 41 now, so ever since I've been alive, they've been open. So,
yeah,
right now the guy that owns it, his son, I think, is running it now, but and they're kind of starting to get an online presence through eBay and stuff like that. So they're kind of evolving a little bit with some of their stuff. But even then, the guy that run it, he told me here several years ago, he said it's getting hard to get model train stuff. And he said, because nobody's really interested in that stuff anymore, which is surprising considering where I live is a railroad town. Thanks to the Frisco and BN, now BNSF, but
right.
He said there's just not that much, and he's not the only one that's told me that. There was a guy who had a hobby shop at Junction 14 in West Plains, told me the exact same thing. He told me once that I was the only guy that came in and bought trains from him.
Oh, wow.
And then when the club formed, a couple of guys from the club started going in, but I think last I heard, he moved his shop, his hobby shop to where he lives, but I haven't been out there since he's done that because I haven't heard anything else from him on that. But yeah, there was a time there when he was up there at Junction 14, he said I was the only guy that bought trains from him. Wow. Everybody else is in the RC cars and airplanes.
Because every time Joyce and I have gone there, they always have customers. A lot of walk in and walk out. But today when we were there, they had 4 or 5 guys, including 2 American guys, but also they had 2 other people buying some Lionel stuff. And then they had a guy bringing in his some Lionel stuff that maybe he inherited or had as a kid or whatever, and he was trying to sell it. And it didn't look in great shape. And you could see he was a little frustrated because old man Ormandy, was not giving him the price he wanted. But, you know, he's going to say, I've got new of this over here. This isn't going to sell for what I pay you for it.
Yeah, and another thing I was going to say, Springfield, Missouri, not all that long ago, I say not all that long ago, probably 20 years ago, they had at least 2 model train shops in there in town. Right. They had Battlefield Station, and then they had Trainland Hobbies, which was on South Campbell. And then Battlefield Station went out of business in the late 2000s, which left Trainland Hobbies as the only true model train shop in Springfield. And then the guy retired, so now there's no model train shops in Springfield. Now there's Iron Planet Hobbies, which is in Rogersville, but that, as of right now, between here and Springfield, where I travel, Iron Planet Hobbies is the only true model train shop left.
Wow. Now, see, Toledo at one time had 13 model train hobby stores. This is back in the 70s. And now, 0. Unless you want to count the chain store, Hobbytown USA, which does have a model train section, but they sell more and remote control and models and games and everything else. And again, you know, if that's what you got to do, branch out into selling these other things as well, because, you know, model trains, okay, if you got a model train shop and you want to keep it going, but business isn't good, then look into branching into like Pokemon cards and something to, you know, that will bring in a steady stream of small, you know, people walking in every day. And somebody may walk in and go, oh, trains.
Well, see, that's what Mid South Hobbies does in Memphis, Tennessee, on the other end of the third sub. That's the only other large hobby shop that's between here and Memphis on the south side. They have the tabletop gaming, the the model kit cars, the slot car sets, and all that, along with the model train stuff. And the train stuff, there's people that goes to that side, but by and large, most everybody goes to the RC stuff and the slot cars. That's the end thing.
By the way, don't mind me. I've got my.
No,
I'm going
it's
to
fine.
load this thing in while we're chatting. I'm just going to go ahead and. Oh, hush.
But it's fascinating that where I live, which is a railroad heavy district, and yet there's so few model train shops.
ICE4.
Around in the area, and really not that many people in that hobby.
Right.
Now there's various reasons why. Some of it's probably because the railroad has become such a dysfunctional bunch to work for that a lot of the guys are when they get off the train, they're sick and tired of trains and they don't want to see another one. So even in model form, but there are still guys that work for the railroad that are still in model and that do the model train stuff, but it's not very many. Like I said, I've had guys tell me, say when they get off the train, they're done. They don't want to see another train, even if it's a toy.
Okay.
So
yeah, and that is how, unfortunately, some hobbies work. There are, people that they spend all day designing, working on cars, and they go home and build model cars. And there are people that they spend all day building, working on cars, and they don't want to see a car after they get home. It's you're either you're invested in the job, and then when you're done with it, you want something totally different, or it's such a passion that it's both work and hobby. So, it's understandable. But like I said, the thing is, obviously big boxers, the hobby itself, people always talk about it. I mean, and it's a great clickbait headline. The hobby's dying, the hobby's dying, the hobby's dying. And they've been saying that for 40 years. And yet there's actually more model train sales now than 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only been in the hobby since the very end of 2015. So really, let's just say 2016, when I actually built my first table and put a loop of track on it. And the doomsday, the hobby's dying. The hobby's not dying, but it is transitioning.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I've said for years.
And it's really, but the hobby has to change with it, because we're now hitting the point where 3D home printing is exploding. We got people like Mark from Model Railway Fantasia that just out of the blue started 3D printing some wagons and stuff, and they're selling like hotcakes for them. And like West Hill Wagons work in the UK, that started as some guys in their basement with a couple of 3D printers, and now they're a major supplier and a major business in the UK hobby. You have to transition with it.
Yep.
And the model train shops, whatever you have to do to stay in, because online, whether we like it or not, Amazon, Temu, everything is sit on your butt and click. Do I prefer to walk into a shop? Yes. But when I buy from Lipa, as much as I love going into Ormondy's, I can save $100 to $150 per loco. I buy $100 to $150 per loco between their price that they'll sell in the store for new stock versus what I'll pay if I buy it from Lipa in Germany, and that includes shipping.
Well, and see, that's kind of like the thing with Iron Planet Hobbies I was talking about, and even Mid South Hobbies out in Memphis. I love walking into their stores and walking around and looking at stuff. The problem is, it's $150 It's about 100 miles to Rogersville to the north. It's 130 miles to Memphis, give or take,
Mm-hmm.
to where Mid-South Hobbies is at. So I can't just jump my truck and just take off and drive 3.5
Right.
hours just to go to a hobby shop.
Right. And like I said, Ormondy's is a 2-hour drive. And I try to go there at least once a year. Some years I make it twice. We used to always go sometime right before Christmas, and then sometime like once in the summer. And I'll spend $50 to $100. I'll buy scenery there. I'll buy, maybe they have a couple of cool little things. We would always buy our Maryland Christmas release from them, because they would get them in stock, and that would be the excuse. Let's go buy the Christmas car, and then anything else we see.
Yeah.
But
and the good thing with Iron Planet Hobbies, they're online, so I can just order from them online.
Yeah.
And they ship it
that's this thing. So. Ormondy's would, but again, it's a pro, and he's 84 years old. He's a great guy. He speaks Hungarian, German. We speak German to each other when we're there, because when he grew up in Hungary, they had to know German. I mean, go back 84. Okay, we're talking the 1940s. And so you needed to know German. Hey, BNC Systems, how are you? Great to have you in here. So it's one of those things I'm rooting for this store, because ever since I discovered that, and I've only known of the store since I got into the hobby in 2016, when it's like, because I actually had a small Maryland shop about an hour north of me, Dave's, in a little town called Warren, Michigan. And Dave had a little Maryland shop. He didn't have much of a selection, but it was all Maryland. It was all 3-rail. And that's where I met the people that got me into the model train club. And again, Dave had a sick wife. He was in his 70s and then in his 80s. The wife eventually passed away, and Dave closed the shop. But that was my go-to place. And then when he closed, I started Googling, where's the closest shop that sells Maryland track? Because if I need it today, I don't want to wait 4 days to 8 days to get it from Germany. And that's when I discovered Ormondy's. So I've been going to Ormondy's probably since 2017.
Hey, BNC. And Brian Rock Rail fan.
Yeah. And so but the thing is, his old stock, the classic Maryland stuff, and he has a ton of it, sells well. I still think his prices are like, before we went last night, I was just going through his online. I was like, wow, he's got an online presence. And no, it's just an ad that he put online saying online sales. He's not selling them online, but this is like an online special that he put out a list and said, here's like 100 different locomotives and car sets and, trains that he's got special prices on above and beyond. But as I was going through what he was asking, there were certain things where I was like, he's asking $500 for it, and I can buy it for $200 on eBay. And then something else he's got for $180, and the cheapest you see it on eBay is $350. And it's like, he pays no attention to the online world, and he needs to. And Dave, the other guy there, he's like, yeah, I keep telling Ray, he's got to do this. And Ray wants to keep the shop open. The shop is doing okay, but he's been a Maryland guy for all these years. But in his words, it sits here. Nobody wants to buy Maryland anymore. And it's like, no, there's plenty of people who want to buy Maryland. They just don't know you're here, and they're not going to drive. I have to make that call. I already talked about the price difference, but I'll go in and buy track and some basics. And yeah, every now and then I will find exactly what I couldn't find anywhere else. And that's why those shops are so beautiful and important. Yeah. And I've been through many of them in Germany, but nobody knows it's there. Unless somebody like me says, oh, you live in the Cleveland area, go to Ormondy's.
Yeah. I mean, when I found out about Iron Planet Hobbies, it was actually through Heath at Humanity Junction was how I found out about watching his streams. He kept talking about them, and I thought they were just like an electronic, where they just sell the electronic part of the trains, like the decoders and the DCC systems. And I found out they actually carried the trains too. And I actually visited there, and was just blown away by the selection they had. And their prices were really competitive. So I just said, well, shoot, I could buy my Walters stuff from them, and the Atlas stuff, and even some of the more obscure manufacturers that they had, like American Limited Models, and what's the other one that I saw there once? I know they got Intermountain, but they got a couple other manufacturers there too. And of course, they got tons of N scale stuff. But
because again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it was like having the best of both worlds. I could opt to either walk into the shop when I'm up there, of course, when they're open, and buy it direct from them, and then I don't have to worry about paying shipping. But also at the same time, if I have to, I can order online from them and have it shipped to my address. So it's a win-win in my case. So
right, and it's the sad thing is this is a great shop. And the locals know about it. People in Cleveland know about it. So it's known. Because if I were him and I'm not, I would probably expand because the bigger part of his North American section is obviously it's Lionel. Because where he lives is an old rail line town. It's an old village in Ohio, well known, and it's got the old town square and everything. And it's becoming a shopping mecca. People they've got this big shopping area in this old county square area, and it's a pretty little town. And then there's lots of wealthy around it because it's beautiful country. So he does okay. Otherwise, he would have gone under a while ago. The fact, that would have caused a lot of people to go under is that he was forced to move, and he could have just said, I'm 82. I don't need to do this anymore. But he loves doing it.
Yeah.
But Merrickland was his passion, but you can see in him, Merrickland is a frustration to him. But again, I'm just repeating myself over and over that talking to Dave, and then Dave going, this is what, this is what I keep telling him. This is what I keep telling him. And then Ray comes over, and Ray starts talking about some other things in his life and, what he used to do before he did model trains, mechanical engineer and so forth as well. And another guy came over. Yeah, I was a mechanical engineer too. But, all this stuff. But Ray still has a passion. And when he meets somebody like me that is like a kid in a candy store where, I get excited about this stuff. That's what I think I bring to the table is when I get a new train like this, I'm like, oh my God, check this out. This is so cool. And I can't believe I found these. I've been after these. And I do show, wear my emotions on my sleeve with this hobby.
I think we all do, Anthony. I do at times. I think we all do that.
Yeah. Well, there are some that are a little more, let's say, docile, a little laid back. But when you've got a new one, like the review you did, I think it was this week.
Yeah, the C30-7 that I did.
Yeah, it's new and you're very excited about it and you're going through point out. And then what you always do, which is so cool, you bring out a related model, either of a similar genre of that loco or what have you, and point out the differences. Cause I'm like, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and too, the C30, the C30-7 was a locomotive I grew up watching as a kid back in the 90s. Now, they were in the twilight of their careers at that time, but they were BN still had them running around pretty good numbers. So it was really neat to see Rapido bring out a top-notch model of that locomotive. But the thing Rapido likes to do too with their models, they put these hidden sounds in, which I actually didn't demonstrate with this engine, but I did on their GP38 that I reviewed several months before that. And there are people that absolutely hate those hidden sounds because it'll play like, I think saw a video on Facebook where somebody found one of the hidden sounds and it was playing MC Hammer's "Can't Touch This."
Right, I heard about that.
So,
or maybe you were the one telling me about that.
He absolutely flipped out about it and said, "Well, it's just for Gen X man babies." Those were his words. Who want to get a chuckle out of something? And I'm like, dude, some of us like to have fun with our trains. We're not serious all the time. This isn't a second full-time job. I'm like, there's no need to just go out there and just start ridiculing everybody that likes this stuff. So,
right.
I mean,
it's there and you don't have to play it. Now, some you do cycle through where each one you hit automatically activates the next one in the line. But things like that, maybe you just, like you said, hidden, or you just put all the joke ones on one bit. But I've got one that's really cool. The other version of this locomotive. The reason I bought the 146.5 was we were in Germany and he demonstrated it for us. And it was already I was attracted to it because Joyce and I had just ridden an IC2 for the first time, the double deckers. And the 146 I have, well, actually up there right now. He played it and he starts playing all the announcements. Next to Halt, which is next stop. Next to Halt, Oldenburg. Next to Halt, Bad Zwischenahn. Next to Halt, Delmenhorst. And Joyce and I went, what? And the guy freaked like, what's the matter? It said Delmenhorst. And then we were like, Joyce was like, that's it. Just get it. Delmenhorst. It says Delmenhorst. I'm building Delmenhorst. Perfect. And then we got it back. And that's when we looked at the pictures and realized the locomotive and the cars were the exact train Joyce and I rode from Delmenhorst to, where did we change at? And then took a different one. Leipzig. We rode Delmenhorst to Leipzig. And then Leipzig, we changed trains and took the other one into Berlin. But it's the exact train we rode on, including the locomotive. And the locomotive itself said Delmenhorst. You got to buy that. It's like if a train said, next stop, Toledo Amtrak, I'd probably buy it,
Yep. So this is kind of a sneak peek at the next review that came in. I'm like, okay. So that is the Athearn Genesis GP38-2. Now, this is number BNSF 2099, which I have the blue box variant of it.
There you go. Now I got everything out of your way.
But this engine has a flaw that it came from the factory with, concerning where the ditch lights are placed on this locomotive. Mm-hmm. They're slid back towards the nose of the engine in the middle of the walkway. Now, Athearn has acknowledged this, and they are at least trying to make it right with the customers. You can either opt to send this locomotive back for a full refund, or you can keep the engine, send in the receipt of where you purchased this engine, and get a $50 gift card that you can use on Athearn.com. But
that's cool.
But and I'll go ahead and take this thing out of the box right quick, where you guys can kind of see what the issue is. So bear with me.
You're taking that out. I'm just going to respond.
Yeah, go ahead.
Attila, you tell Artie that putting cables under his layout is great to see him working on it, but he better take care of his shoulders.
Oh, is Attila injuring? Has already injured himself?
Well, Artie has bad shoulders. I
knew that. I just
well, Attila is letting us know what Artie's doing.
Ah, okay.
So I'm just
hey, Artie.
I'm telling Attila to tell Artie to behave. All right. Okay. Well, anyhow, thanks for popping in. I think PK&W, is that Bob?
All right, PK, have a good one.
Or am I backing up names? Is BNC Bob? I can't. I'm still struggling with certain names. But anyhow, yeah. Thanks for popping in. Yep, I'm gonna
turn my camera right quick.
I'm ready. Okay.
Yeah, just give me a minute because it's let's see here.
No problem.
Settings, camera.
We'll just do that until you're ready for a second. Let's see what Steve say. Yeah, I hope I'll wake up in time for Andy's stream in the morning, 8:00 my time. Okay, here we go. Let me make your.
So right there is what I'm talking about with the ditch lights. So, and I don't have the Rapido one out where I could show you this, but if you actually look where the ditch lights are at, this is what they were talking about where there's a flaw with the ditch lights. See where they're mounted right here?
Yeah.
There's a ditch light there, and there's a ditch light there, but they're all the way back against the nose of this engine. They're supposed to be right here.
Oh, okay.
The ditch lights are actually supposed to be right here at the edge of this platform. And there was I'm assuming there was a mistake at the factory where they looked at the renderings wrong, and the ditch lights were moved way
Although
back.
I will say, to be funny, that molding there looks like somebody left a couple of really nice SLR digital cameras on the front end.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody seen my Canon?
But, just kind of taking a peek at this engine from what I've seen of it, everything else looks really good on it. I haven't seen any other flaws beside that, but that is kind of unfortunate because that's kind of a glaring mistake right there on the front pilot. And just for kicks and giggles, this was why I bought it, because there's the blue box version of the same locomotive.
Aha.
So here's the Genesis version. Here's the Genesis version of 2099, the blue box version of 2099.
Wow. Okay, so the same exact model. Why so much difference? If it's supposed to be the same runner, why so much difference?
Okay, so this is a blue box engine. This is from the not mid 90s, from the late 1990s. This is the new Genesis version.
Okay, so let me ask you, Randall, educate me here. So when you look at the one from the 90s, the horns up there, that maybe is how the horns would have looked then, but now when you look at the new one, that's what they look like today. So the model is showing the upgrades.
Right. So,
okay.
This would be how the horns would have been mounted when the engine was built new for Burlington Northern. I think this is an XBN engine. I'm not sure, but in any case, their horns would have been right here with this cab. Well, when BNSF rebuilt these engines, they moved the horns back here to the long hood. So your horn is actually back here. That's basically to make it, that was actually to make it more bearable for the crews, where they're not just blowing their eardrums out every time they sounded the horn. And also a couple other things they did. This engine, or the Genesis version, has 4 exhaust stacks on it. So you have a exhaust stack here, 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 and here. And then it's got all the antenna arrays, where this one, the blue box version, is basically just a plain Jane top on there. Also, no sunshades on the Genesis model. So, and then you come to the back. I'm almost kind of doing a live review here.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got printed number boards on the back. These are just blank crystals on the back. It may be a little hard to see, but you got it's just basically just a clear plastic for the rear number boards. Also, functioning rear headlights on this engine. No functioning rear headlights on this locomotive. But the really big thing is, and I don't really want to pull the body off of this one, but with the blue box engine, I can kind of show you what it looks like.
Somebody asked, Raymond Legs asked, on either of the models, did the fans actually spin?
No.
Okay.
The blue box, actually, if you actually look at the blue box model, you can't even see fans in it.
Right. It's just plastic. Yeah.
The body's just one full molded piece is all it is with the blue box. and they were also a one size fits all. And I think I just broke the.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yep, that's what I did. I broke one of the tabs. So well,
No.
it won't hurt it. It's still got the other three holding it on there. So, but anyway, that's what the blue box drive system looks like for anybody that's never seen it. So you got this big giant headlight right here, bulb, simple motor design. And the best part is Athearn still makes parts for these engines. They're ready to roll motors and everything will just slide right in. Where you don't have to do any modifying.
Right.
And like I said, don't worry about the little tab right there because that's actually not the first one I broke. I've got a ready to roll version, which is a clone of this engine. That's also got a broke tab on it, but it happens. But they just slide on there like that, and there you go. They're pretty simple to work on, but yeah, you can really see the detail difference between the blue box engine and the Genesis engine. Right here. If you if you ignore the ditch lights.
Right. If you ignore the ditch. But no, see, this is what's great, Randall, is not only are you showing us the difference in these two models, but you're showing some of the generational, how just in the last 20 years the hobby's changed and the detailing in a lot of ways has improved, but they can still make mistakes.
Well, another thing too, right there, you don't even see a bell on this engine. Yet on this engine, there's the bell right there.
Yeah, I mean, all the extra additional details right there are amazing. Oh, by the way, honey, people said hi.
Oh, hey, Joyce. Sorry, I didn't know you was already there.
No, she tries to sneak in and sneak out. She tries to ninja the laundry.
But by the way, Anthony, you can tell Joyce, I know she's been waiting for Fredo Bangino to make his triumphant return. I've got 4 episodes recorded, so
all right. So
we'll be dropping some Fredo Bangino, this 4th stuff here before too long.
Speaking of videos, I was just hoping, I think privately there might have been some rejoicing because it's like, hey, first day in a week, Anthony didn't drop a video finally, because I have had so many going on with this, and I've got 3 in the bag, or 2 in the bag and 1 to make. But I think I'll do the train shop one first.
I just saw Attila's Vargas comment there. It just goes to show how much detail in rail modeling has changed over the years. Yeah, I mean, this engine here, people are saying because the ditch lights are like this, Athearn's trash, all their products are trash, they have no quality control, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
While this is a glaring mistake, and yes, Athearn messed up on this, this is the only engine I've had that's had a mistake like this on it from them.
Right. And it doesn't stop it from being a beautiful runner either.
Well, right. And just because you have the details wrong, it doesn't make it complete junk.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
What was I trying to say here? Like I said, all the other engines I've had from him have been really good. We'll see what this one does when we put it on the track and test it out for the review. Obviously, I can't do that now because it's so cold outside, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I remember what I was going to say now, Anthony. Athearn noted this is the only road number that has this mistake. All the other BNSF ones are fine.
Right. And so there's another thing. And again, something like this, sometimes it's so easy because whether you like it or not, in a lot of cases, while some of the people that run the model train industry are trained people, so to speak, they're hiring graphic designers, they're hiring CAD firms, they subcontract some of this design work out. And it can be a very simple thing that somebody took the CAD drawings and there's, they have a line that says these two things go here. Somebody misreads where that line is drawn. Let's face it, how many times have we looked at instructions and we thought the instruction said put the piece here, but actually it meant put it there. And, I missed that. Lord knows I did that when I wired my first set of double slips. The picture made it look like the wires went reverse of the way I thought they should, but, that's what the picture shows. I do it that way. And it took Jean Ricard coming on and saying, no, Anthony, you've got to put them the other way or you'll short stuff out. Like,
I just remembered, Anthony, I do have the Rapido GP38 beside me where I can kind of show you this. So
that's an interesting question. Speaking as an outsider, I would say, it is possible you could buy one that is correct and change the numbers on it. But
see, the thing is, the 2099 has something that's very unique that the other GP38 -2s don't have. See the fuel tank in the trucks right here?
Yes.
They're silver.
Aha.
It is the only engine that has the fuel tank and trucks painted this way.
So you not only have to change numbers, you'd have to change the paint scheme on the tanks.
Well, you would essentially have just repaint the truck and the fuel tank. But now this is a GP38, not a GP38-2, but it's still close enough. You guys will kind of get the idea here. And again, I'm not going to take the foam parts off of it because. So I'm just going to spin that around. So there is the Rapido version. And you notice how the ditch lights are in the correct spot on it. So your ditch lights are right there.
Yep.
And right there in the correct spot. Whereas on the BNSF one, they're slid back too far. But again, it happens.
It happens. It happens. And yes, some people in the hobby get upset because maybe this is the model they've been waiting for and something goes wrong. And again, but then there are people like me, for example, when Miraklin made the Flying Scotsman, I was excited. I was excited to finally have a classic, one of the most famous, if not the most famous steam locomotive. I mean, you could debate Flying Scotsman, Big Boy, although Big Boy is actually more than one. But to have a UK loco in HO scale in 3-rail, it's the first one in decades. And I bought it. And the color, the green color doesn't quite match the proper green. Otherwise, I thought it looked brilliant. And I was excited to have it. But the UK guys came in. The smokestack is way off. And I looked at pictures, actual pictures, the ones that Miraklin used, and it's like, okay, it might be. But in the model, it at most is 1 millimeter off, maybe 2 millimeters off.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I mean, when people flip out because the handrails are a 10,000th of an inch too big, I'm like, okay.
Bitch about the color. Now, somebody like Hot Dog Pilot Andy, he pointed out, which I would have never noticed, that the stroke sounds were wrong. That it's a, I forget which way it goes. It's a 4-cylinder engine, and the sound effects were 3. And again, you go, why did they get this wrong? How did they get this wrong? The reason the green paint is wrong is very simple. Miraklin doesn't do certain finishes, so the color is going to look not quite right because they don't add the proper form of varnish. Miraklin doesn't do that. So certain trains in certain colors will never be that accurate color because for whatever reason, Miraklin will not put that type of finish. And it just so happened the Flying Scotsman has that. But the people went nuts over the difference in the smokestack. And I'm like, complain about the color. I'm with you. It's not the right color. But on the flip side, as I told people, I had a choice. I either don't have a Flying Scotsman or I do have a Flying Scotsman, but something's wrong with it. Aesthetically, something's wrong with it. Beautiful runner. It's one of my best running steam locomotives.
Well, you was talking about the paint here.
Yeah.
BNSF orange. It is one of the most,
John Benicki,
I think, overly criticized colors to get right. I've ever seen them all running. Union Pacific Armor Yellow's right up there with it. And I've even told people that, like this. I said, if there's one thing I'll give all train manufacturers a pass on, let's say it's get egregiously wrong, is the paint. Because BNSF back in the days when these things were painted, they couldn't even stay consistent on what their orange shade was. You would have some of these engines where the orange would almost look like a flesh color, a skin tone type peach color at times. And then you would have some that almost look like a reddish orange. Now, here recently with the Gevos and the ET44s, they've gotten much better on the consistency.
Mm-hmm. So now the thing is, I can't speak for the American market there, and I'll ask Randall about that in just a second because he works so closely with this stuff. But I know in my own things, when I stood next to railjet locomotives, the Taurus, the 146s, the 147s, and I feel like in the vast majority of cases, the scale for my German stuff is pretty spot on. I mean, Märklin, most of their locomotives are true 187 scale. And if you take a 187 figure and put it next to the locomotive, it is right, both length, width, and height. So I can't speak to that. Oh my God, who said that? I forget now. But somebody said that a lot of the locomotives are not as big compared to the figures and the sceneries and the buildings as they are in real life, that the models are smaller in their model form. Do you agree with that, Randall, or can you give us insight on that?
Could you repeat that question, Anthony? I got
sorry, that was long-winded. He says that the models are often much smaller in comparison to the scenics compared to how big the models are in real life. In other words, an HO scale train is not the same size as the real thing, that they really shrink them up and make them smaller. Does that make sense? And would you agree with that? Can I demonstrate? Because I'm clearly seeing this in
I'm getting like calls from the railroad and everything. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're going nuts right now.
Okay. If you take a figure and hold it next to a train, he says that in the models he deals with, which is the American world, he says the size of the figure that the model is smaller than it should be, that the locomotives should be bigger than they're made in HO scale, that in reality they are much bigger than the way they're shrunk down as a model. Do you agree with that, or do you think there's a truth to that?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Anthony.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're getting your radio.
Yeah, it's like they're like melting down at the railroad right now. So I'm trying to.
You're waiting for a call, right?
Well, I actually took a trip, and then my supervisor just called me and told me forget the trip, just log in and then into the trip because they got yard vans out there to do that trip. So
okay.
So hang on just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Welcome, Southbound Switch and Layout. I am going to be ending this in a couple of minutes because I did say I wanted to get off early here. Which one of you is buzzing, you knuckleheads? But so yeah, I always find that the proportions seem to be right with my European models. With the locomotives, with cars, that's a different story. With passenger coaches, that's a different story.
Okay, I'm back now. You can ask the question again. Well, since we may get called again here in the middle of this. So
no, I think you did answer it. In other words, that an HO scale model of, let's say the locomotives you were just showing, that the HO scale model, that if it was truly going to be HO scale, that they actually should be bigger, that he says they really shrink them down more than they are, that you don't really understand how big the locomotives are when you put them next to 187 scale figures,
right.
that they're actually bigger in real life compared to the size of the person than what you see on a layout. And you said
I wouldn't disagree with that, no. And I think a lot of that is they have to be that way in order to be functional. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Some of it's money, if it's going to cost more to produce it at this size than this size.
Well, see this one here. Well, that's the wrong one. I need to get the other one with the bigger fuel tank. So like this one right here has the full size fuel tank on it. A lot of times they'll say, well, the fuel tank ain't the right size or whatever. But the thing is, they have to be that way. Otherwise, you start affecting the swing motion of the trucks,
right?
And the overall functionality of the locomotive. So you have to give up a little bit of detail. Otherwise, the engine.
Well, it's not even so much detail; it's just in general size. That if you were going to take AC or whatever, 44 or whatever, like what Merklin's doing, that if you're going to make it HO scale, it should be bigger than what they do make it, because they make them smaller. They're not true 187 scale, and it's quite possible because somebody's talking about right here, Steve talking about a lot of 187 people are not tall enough. Most of your buildings are 195 or 1/100 scale, and big buildings are 1/115 scale, or even Miniature Wonderland says that they condense. Like they did St. Paul's Cathedral, and they said the actual width of it to be able to do St. Paul's Cathedral in their Rome section of Miniature Wonderland, they did it in 1/150 scale, 1:150. It's actually closer to N scale. The windows and that got shrunk a bit, but in other words, they compressed it width and height, or width and length and a little bit in height. So it's like 150, 1:150 in width and length, and it's 1:100 in height. So it's a really bizarre scale, and yet when you look at it, you don't realize that it's really off unless you're very familiar with it.
Well, just for kicks and grins, it's also cool to get some of that fantasy stuff too. For those, this was a car that I was supposed to show this
Won't you be?
during the Christmas display, but I didn't because I got called on the bar out back in December. But this is the other Mr. Rogers neighborhood car.
Yeah,
and, I always like these, and this is the Lionel. So. This is Lionel HO, and for these particular cars, they're actually pretty reasonably priced. I know I've railed on Lionel for their insane prices on their Vision line locomotives and some of their other O scale and even HO scale stuff, but believe it or not, these are actually fairly reasonably priced.
And another thing,
from what I've seen,
right? And another thing with maybe one of the last couple of thoughts here. Is that the problem is a lot of times they design things in true 187 scale, but when you're working with plastic, as plastic cools, it shrinks.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, well, we started it here and then it's ended here. And then also a lot of people, like when I used to collect HO Airfix miniature soldiers for making military dioramas and setting up battles and stuff as a kid, all the way into my 20s and such. Airfix made them like they were halfway between 00 and HO. In fact, they advertised them HO 00. They were smaller than standard 00, but bigger than standard HO.
By the way, Southdown switching layout, I wasn't having technical difficulties. The railroad was calling me about 50 times.
That's
50 times.
Still kind of technical difficulty.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's amazing stuff.
Well, and another thing too, Anthony, you can't expect everything to be hyper detailed.
Right.
you know, with all the lights, the sounds, and all that good stuff. Otherwise, the hobby's going to get so expensive, nobody's going to be able to afford it except for a
right. You've got to have the basic stuff. You know, you can't have it all. You can't have your cake and eat it too, as they say. If you want hyper detailing, you're going to pay a premium for it.
Sometimes you got to have cars like these guys. They're just plain Jane budget line cars.
Yeah, it can, Monsville. I agree. 176 versus 187 can make a big difference.
Well,
and then the Italian company Italieri made all their figures. I used to buy them and try to mix them in. They were all at 172 scale. So all these Italieri Russian soldiers were this tall, and the Germans they were fighting were this tall. And I'm like, that's not fair.
Well, and then there's, you know, 00 scale too. And, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, 00 scale is 176. But Italieri made 1 to 72 size figures. I mean, why 1 to 172? That's not 00 or HO. But yeah, the more detail, and again, there's companies like, I mean, I don't want to really denigrate some, but there are certain companies, and depending on where you live, you know who they are, because there's American and European and British Isle versions of them, where they're using the same tooling for the last 50 years, and they might pluck something in it, but they're charging the modern prices, and they haven't retooled the design, they haven't remolded it in years. And then, you know, your bigger companies like Piko and Märklin, the European Piko, Piko, the German Piko, they have some toolings that they have not changed in 40 years, but they will, every year they'll say, new design, new molding. You know, this is all new tooling. This is going to be one where we've added some of the new stuff. In some cases, I know people are like, you know, I'm happy with the old 50-year tooling, and that's fine. But don't charge the same price for an all new tooled high end for something that hasn't been modified in 40 years. And
it'd be like if Athearn took this engine, this blue box engine, and charged the same price for this engine,
right,
with the sound and DCC and the lights and all that good stuff. So
yeah, and Monsville is just talking here, talking about an N scale layout. If you don't know, Monsville has 6 layouts. They've been building a shelf layout. That's number 6. When I knew them, they only had 5. Now they're up to 6.
Gotta keep building.
Our little modeler is growing up. They went from 5 to 6. They've expanded. Me, I've got a layout that could be 5 or 6 smaller layouts if I wanted it to be, but it works for me. And that's the big thing with all that double slip stuff. And I'm so grateful because I put a bomb load of videos out on this project, but it's the first time I've worked on anything on my truly worked on my layout outside the Fowler car in 4 years. And it solved so many problems for me. So many things that have been nagging me and why I had not really progressed, because it's like, how do I solve that? I'm going to probably have to rip that all out. And when finally I got talked into, well, do double slips. It will solve it'll do this for you. And I did it and said, yeah, that worked. And it brought back some things. Now it's like, yeah, now I can actually start progressing with ballasting and scenery. But on that note, I am going to cut it off here. It's 9:30. I did promise I would not stay on 2 hours today. So, I mean, if I go an hour 59, that's not 2 hours. But we had a great time. I hope those of you that were here at the time enjoyed my little walk through Hornby's. It's a great topic we could talk forever about, the pros and cons of a mom and pop shop. But if the mom and pop won't change with the times, they're doomed. Hornby's has been going for 46 years. I think that's the number they told me and that I said. They've been going for 46 years. They're a great shop. You look at the selection, it's awesome, but he's talking about how it's not selling. It's like, well, nobody's buying Märklin anymore. No, Märklin's selling bigger in the United States than it ever has. The problem is the only way people know you have Märklin is if they live in the area and come to your shop. You've got to get online. And if you're 84, hire some 20-year-old kid and build a web page.
Yep.
Like I said, if I lived closer, I would go in and do it. I certainly don't want to run a shop, but I would help. I'm retired. I got nothing to do. If you want to pay me a local a week, and I'm happy. End of the year, 52 locos.
That's the way to go right there.
Collection.
That'd be a heck of a
That's underpaid. That's underpaid. All right. But anyhow, yeah. Again, hey, Randall, it was great having you up. And
yeah, appreciate it, Anthony.
Great discussion on what you were demonstrating there as well. Yep. Always an honor to have you here, my friend.
Yep. I always appreciate it, Anthony. So.
And looking forward to, Joyce and I are both looking forward to Fredo Baggino coming up, because I've started writing.
Well, we'll see if you and Joyce feel that way after the first episode drops.
Oh no, bad. That was a bad. That was a bad giveaway. All right. So anyhow, all of you who joined us and have not left yet, thank you for joining us. We are on Artie's channel next week. Hopefully Artie doesn't get stuck under the table while he's putting wiring in. Otherwise, Attila Varga will have to go over and drag him out feet first, and that's not something anybody wants to do.
Keep playing your dish soap handy. Just to be on the safe side.
Just to be on the safe side. All right. Take care. Good night, everybody. We'll see you around.
See you guys. Have a good one.
All
See you, Anthony.
Take care. See ya.
Yep. See you.